Welcome to the Spring 2022 edition of our Data Security tutorial. I'm Don Benjamin, and for the last 8 years I've been a member of the volunteer tech team at PSRC. We usually teach this class at least once each year. We've also noticed a rash of email scams, which makes this subject even more timely today. Folks often ask us what kinds of devices are more vulnerable to security breaches. The truth is, all of them are, at least to varying degrees. Mac and iOS, iOS being the operating system for the iPhone and the iPad, are a bit safer. Windows has improved its security considerably, especially with Windows 11. There are some vulnerabilities with Android apps. Anyway, we'll explain the risks today. It's up to you to decide what's acceptable. But as often as not, users play an unwitting role in compromising their data, as we'll see in a few moments. We'll cover many of these vulnerabilities and risks. I've been using computers for decades, ever since the IBM PC hit the scene some 40 years ago, and I've never experienced a serious security issue. With some understanding of how the internet works and common sense, you should feel comfortable using the vast online resources available to all of us. We'll talk about how you're compromised by hacking corporate servers to obtain your IDs and passwords and then logging into your online accounts, revealing your passwords through email spoofing and phishing, how you're susceptible to scams by allowing others to access your computer. We'll talk about malware that you unwittingly install through careless downloads. And finally, the problems with not keeping your software up to date. But first, let's talk about how the parts and pieces of the internet work. The internet world comprises servers, which are huge computer farms that provide the data we want to access. I've shown several servers in our example, including Marriott Hotels, TD Bank, Facebook, Gmail, Public Service Electric and Gas, and iCloud. Here's an example of one of the server farms. This one belongs to Facebook and is located in Fort Worth, Texas. These farms are huge and inside contain hundreds, if not thousands, of individual computer servers. And there are our clients. The clients are our equipment that download data from these servers. So servers serve clients. The internet, which we call a wide area network, connects the servers with the clients. The clients reside in our homes and businesses in what we call a local area network. The router, usually provided by your internet service provider such as Comcast or Verizon, links your local area net with the internet. And I'll explain more about the router in a moment. Some folks call this the cloud because it's not a switched network like the telephone system, which connects two phones over a defined path. Instead, the internet connects servers and clients over multiple paths, which provides for near instant information transfer. Even the cell network is a part of the internet, which is what lets you serve the net and receive email when you're using your smartphone away from home. The router plays an important role as the first layer of defense between your local area network and the internet. Now, I'll warn you, this gets a bit wonky. When you connect to the internet, your internet service provider assigns your router an Internet Protocol or IP address. My router's address is 173.72.1.238. That's my router's location on the internet. When I'm using my laptop and click a link on my browser to a website, the server knows where the request came from, so it can return the web page that I want to see. Now, in turn, your router assigns its own private IP addresses to every device on your local area network. These addresses usually start with 192.168.1, but they're invisible to the Internet because they aren't included in the Internet's public IP directory. When the web page you requested returns to your router, the router looks up the address it assigned to the device that made the request, in this case, your laptop, and it changes the IP address to 192.168.1.2, and the web page appears. This is called network address translation. There's a bit more to this process, but my point is that your router prevents users outside of your local area network from hacking into your device. Now that you understand how the Internet works, let's turn our attention to how others gain access to your information. One way is by hacking into corporate servers to steal data, or install malware, or corrupt files, or do all of these. Note that hackers are not trying to break into your computer. That's too difficult. Rather, they want the gigabytes of confidential information on corporate servers. How they obtain access to those corporate servers is something we'll discuss a little later. This chart shows the millions, hundreds of millions of records that hackers have obtained from large corporate servers over the last several years. After obtaining this information, hackers can then post these IDs and passwords on the Internet for sale. Now let's see what a hacker is after. Here's some nefarious person who was able to gain access to the Dewdrop-In's database of frequent guests. Each guest used his or her email address as their ID and then selected a password and established their account on the Dewdrop-In server. Then, maybe one of the Dewdrop-In staff members accidentally revealed the password in a phishing attempt, which we'll discuss soon. Among the thousands of IDs and passwords available, it's likely that at least some of the guests used the same password for their Dewdrop-In account that they used for other accounts, like their email account. So the hacker starts trying IDs and passwords to log into email accounts. Once successful, the hacker then has access to that person's emails and address book. Now we'll see how the hacker can use this information when we talk about email spoofing in a short while. Or the hacker can try various IDs and passwords to log into bank accounts. The bottom line is you must use different passwords for your online accounts, at least for those accounts that involve your finances or other sensitive information. And this would include bank accounts, investment accounts, your health portals, and even your electric utility account. I use different passwords for all my accounts, no matter how trivial they may be. And we'll talk about how to create secure passwords and store them safely later in this video. Now I want to turn to the subject of deceptive emails. Many of our participants have and continue to receive deceptive emails, and it's important to recognize those that may be phony. Most deceptive emails fall into two categories: phishing emails, which is somebody pretending to be someone else to make you reveal information. In other words, they are phishing for information. And spoofing, which is when someone pretends to be you to scam other people. And we'll look at examples of both of these. This is an example of a phishing email to obtain passwords. Now, this appears to be from PayPal. It looks legitimate. But when you read it, you'll note the rather odd wording and the poor grammar. And if you were to click on the Update Your Information link, you would be taken to a fake website for your ID and password, and then the hacker would have your credentials for your PayPal account. If you suspect there's a problem with your PayPal account, don't click on an email. Log into your PayPal account and make sure everything is okay. Here's a phishing attempt for your Amazon credentials. If you'll look carefully at the email address, it's certainly not from Amazon. And if you click on the View Case Details, you'll probably be directed to another fake website where you'll be asked to enter your Amazon ID and password. Here's an email purportedly from Bank of America, but note the strange email address. These kinds of emails can be dangerous. Don't click on any links or call any phone numbers. Instead, log into your bank's website or call the bank to make sure that your accounts are secure. Here's a phishing email I recently received. It looks like it's from Norton. It's actually an attempt to fool me into allowing a scammer to log into my bank account to refund the $230 that I was charged in error. If I click on the link or call the phone number, the scammer will ask me to install software that allows them to use my computer to log into my bank account to receive my refund. Through some rather twisted logic, they'll then claim I over-refunded myself by several $1,000s and then demand that I return the money to them, usually with gift cards. And once again, the email address is a clue. It's from gmail.com, not norton.com. If you receive this kind of notice, don't respond. Instead, sign into your account or call your credit card company. If it was actually a false charge, your credit card company will give you a refund. This spoofing email pretends to be from Bob Smith and asks me to help him purchase a Google Play card. But Bob Smith didn't send this email. It came from someone who knew Bob's Gmail address and password, logged into his Gmail account, and sent this message to all of Bob's contacts. Then the scammer deleted all of Bob's contacts and changed Bob's Gmail account settings to intercept all email addressed to Bob. Without his contacts, Bob couldn't write to anyone to warn them of this scam. So how did this happen? Well, remember the hacker who stole all those IDs and passwords from the Dewdrop-In data? Well, Bob used the same password for his Dewdrop-In account as his Gmail account. Had Bob used different passwords, this might not have happened. Pop-up warnings show up in your browser, often when you click on a link to an ad or a fake website that might look legitimate. But these warnings are indeed fake, and if you call the number for help or engage in the chat window with a supposed tech representative, someone will try to sell you a worthless and expensive security monitoring service. If you see a pop-up like this, just close your browser. If you're using a Mac computer, you'll need to close and then quit the browser application completely. Here's another warning, supposedly from Microsoft, claiming that Windows has detected suspicious activity on your computer. This warning is even more ridiculous when you see who it's from, and then read the nonsensical explanation. Microsoft doesn't monitor your computer, and these pop-ups are fake. If you see one, just close your browser. And one more thing, never allow anyone to log in and control your computer remotely unless you know that person very well. If you do fall for one of these scams, the scammer will have you open some arcane log files on your computer to show several errors and warnings. These are actually normal operating system actions. However, the scammer would then have an opportunity to either install malware or entice you to buy some ridiculously expensive security software or service that you do not need. Most of the phone calls we get these days seem to be scams themselves. Public Service Electric and Gas calls to offer a 20% discount because we're such good customers. Microsoft calls to let me know that I have a virus on my Apple computer. The IRS called me once to say that I owed more than $5,000 because I was deceptive in the last 5 years of my income tax returns. Social Security called to let me know that they found fraudulent activity in an abandoned car in South Texas, where they also discovered 22 pounds of some kind of illicit drug and some blood. And once a week, we receive a reminder that our auto warranty has expired. Tech scams like this one, disguised as PNC Bank, advising that my account has been locked, also pop up now and then. If I were to tap on the link, I would be taken to a fake PNC website to capture my ID and password. Now, some credit cards use text messages to ask you to verify recent purchases by replying with a Y or an N, yes or no. These seem to be okay, but you can always ignore them and call your credit card company if you have any doubts. It's easy to fall for email scams. The most important thing is to slow down and think. If you receive a message about an online account, don't click any links or call any phone numbers. Instead, call the company directly or the credit card provider, or use your own web browser's bookmarks to log into your online account to check for recent activity, or contact PSRC Tech Help. Malware is software that infects your computer. It can cause ads to pop up when you're surfing the net, or completely hijack your browser so you can't look up anything. Malware can export data from your computer without your knowledge, and it can even encrypt your files and then demand payment to decrypt them. Most folks are surprised to learn that they often unwittingly install malware by allowing someone to have access to their computer as part of a bank refund scam or help desk scam. But as often as not, we accidentally download malware ourselves without realizing what we just did. And here are some examples. In this case, I was looking for a particular piece of software for my printer. So I found the source on a web page, but do I click on download number 1 at the top, or download 2, or download 3? Well, actually none of those. The first download link would install Firefox software. Firefox is a nice browser, but that's not what I wanted. The second download would install some type of computer cleaner, and that's certainly not what I wanted. The third download would have installed some kind of universal driver program. Well, I didn't want that either. And it wasn't until I scrolled way down that I found the LaserJet download that I needed. In this case, none of the other downloads would have been a major problem, but they could have also have been malware. Here's an ad for free software that would seem to make your browsing safer. The young lady seems really happy about it, but there are all sorts of red flags here. There's no company name. The various seals at the bottom of the web ad don't really mean anything, and there's no description about how the software works or what it does. This is actually malware that messes with your browser and may even damage other files or export your data without your knowledge. The last topic we'll cover in this tutorial are best practices, and that includes keeping your operating system and applications up to date, backing up your data, ensuring that you have passwords for your devices and accounts, including your router. We'll talk about security software, knowing that websites are secure, double authentication to prove who you really are when you sign into a website. We'll talk about file encryption and software you don't need. We can't stress enough the importance of keeping your software up to date. This includes your operating system and all applications. Both Microsoft and Apple are improving the performance and security of their operating systems. Windows 11 adds new data encryption protections that rely on the computer chips found in newer computers. But whether you move to Windows 11 or stick with Windows 10, it's important to keep these operating systems current. The same is true for your mobile devices, both smartphones and tablets. You should allow software such as Microsoft Office, Java, which many websites use, and Adobe Acrobat to update themselves. And incidentally, Adobe Flash isn't used any longer, so you can ignore any notice to update Flash. And I'll mention that Microsoft's Internet Explorer, the original Windows browser, is obsolete. You should move to Edge instead. If you create content, whether it be documents, slideshows, recipe collections, whatever, you need a backup strategy. Then if you lose your files, whether through malware or computer failure, you can easily restore your work. There are two places to keep backups. You can keep them at home by using an external drive along with Windows File History option or Apple's Time Machine. Or you can keep them on the internet by using Microsoft's OneDrive, Apple's iCloud, Dropbox, and so on. I use both methods, so even if my house is destroyed and along with my files, they'll still be available on the internet. And yes, it's safe to use online storage for your documents. Even though everyone agrees they're a nuisance, passwords are still part of protecting our information. Even if you don't keep sensitive information and files on your computer, you don't want to compromise your email accounts, bookmarks, or passwords. Your devices should all require a password when you turn them on or wake them from their sleep mode, even if it's only a 4-digit number. Fingerprint and facial recognition are both more convenient and effective. The Mac operating system requires a computer password if you elect to encrypt your files. Your router passcode ensures that only those in your household can use your internet service. As we saw in the earlier part of this tutorial, you must use a different password for every online account, certainly for those accounts that house sensitive information. The most effective passwords have proven to be those that include at least 2 unrelated words separated by a special character, like a hyphen, a slash, a hashtag, and so on, and at least 1 uppercase letter and a number or 2. The 2 examples here, Flaky Windmill 14 and Mustard Raccoon 12 Flax, meet these criteria and would be difficult to guess. These kinds of passwords are easier to create and enter than those with lots of special characters that require fingertip gymnastics to type. Ideally, you should use a password manager, and we'll talk about those next. Or let your browser memorize your passwords. And yes, it's okay, your browser encrypts them. You can even store them in a document like an Excel spreadsheet as long as you can protect the list with a password. But please don't write them down. You'll either lose them or forget to update them or have them stolen. Password managers help take the worry out of remembering your passwords. You can let your browser store your passwords. I do it all the time. The browser encrypts these passwords, so it's safe and convenient, and it makes it easier to use different passwords for your accounts. Safari will even recommend strong passwords when you create a new online account. Third-party password managers may be a better choice, though they do have a learning curve. One advantage is that your passwords are copied to the password manager's servers for safekeeping and recovery if your computer fails. Maybe more important, you can share your passwords with others, like close family members. That could be crucial if you suddenly pass away without others knowing how to manage your online accounts. Some password managers are free, but most charge a modest monthly fee, just a few dollars. Something to consider. There's a bunch of third-party security software you can add to your computer. Norton, McAfee, AVG, and WebRoot, to name a few. So which one is best? I'm not sure. You can read all sorts of reviews that compare these applications. Some are better than others at catching certain types of malware, but none are perfect. And while security software is important, you may not need more than what you already have. Windows Security is bundled with Windows 10 and 11, and we found it's pretty good. Windows 11 employs additional security features. You don't need any subscriptions. Microsoft keeps these malware applications up to date. If you do want to add protection, we think a lot of Malwarebytes. A subscription costs about $40 a year. It's less obtrusive than either Norton or McAfee. Apple's Mac operating system is already locked down, so to speak. I do use the Mac version of Malwarebytes on my Mac, and I've never had a malware problem. I've had some experience with Sophos for the Mac, but I'm not using it now. We see no need to add security software to your mobile devices as long as you download your applications from the Google Play Store or Apple App Store. In fact, I don't even know if such security software exists for these devices. Let's talk about secure websites. Have you noticed the address for most web pages begins with HTTPS? That S means the server has encrypted the data it's sending to your browser. And if you upload data to the server from your browser, that data is encrypted as well. Most every website these days uses this encryption protocol, which prevents eavesdropping and confirms the legitimacy of the server. Most browsers will tell you if you're about to load a web page from a non-encrypted website. You can also tell because the address of the site will begin with HTTP. In other words, there would be no S. And finally, for an extra layer of security, we urge you to employ double authentication when logging into any online account that provides access to your financial or other sensitive information. When you log in with your ID and password, the server will send you a text with a one-time code, maybe 6 digits. You'll then enter that code into the website. This extra layer of security ensures the server that it's actually you who have logged in. So if someone else were to use your ID and password, you would receive this one-time code, which tells you someone is trying to gain access to your online account. Of course, they'll be unsuccessful because they won't have the one-time code. In fact, you'll receive the one-time code on your smartphone. And finally, here's a short list of software you do not need. Both Windows and Mac OS take care of themselves and update drivers for your peripherals like printers, webcams, and so on. There's no need to add some third-party software that could compromise your computer. You don't need cleaners, optimizers, or any third-party driver update services. Let's briefly recap what we've learned in this tutorial. It's important to use different passwords for each of your online accounts. Don't respond to emails that ask you to click a link or call a number. Be wary of emails from friends asking you to send them gift cards. Remember that neither Microsoft nor Apple monitor your computer. Browser pop-up warnings that your computer has been infected are usually fake, especially if they include phone numbers to call for help. Neither the IRS nor Social Security Administration will call to demand payment. Remember to call your online vendor or credit card company if you suspect fraud. Make sure the websites you visit are secure. Keep your software up to date and use double authentication for critical online accounts. If you have further questions about computer security, remember you can always ask us to help. Just go to the PSRC website and click on Technology Lab. Thanks for joining us.